Hey guys, Denard Marine here with the Q&A video, another one. I like to do these every so often. I had you guys ask me questions on the post on my Facebook page, and now I'm going to answer them. So I'm just going to go down the old list here. Let's see. In boot camp, when you're told to shave, do they get in your face while you're shaving, or do they just count down real fast? A little bit of both. I mean, they're not going to necessarily start bumping into you and stuff because they don't want you to cut yourself and shit like that. But pretty much the entire time you're in boot camp, they're going to be doing shit to try to stress you out. What would be the best way to become a Mustang? For those of you who don't know, a Mustang is an enlisted person who becomes an officer. And a lot of guys, they tend to do their first 4 years, and they, as enlisted, and then when they go to re-enlist, they attempt to re-enlist into the officer program, and that's what most people do. What's my opinion on the military humor pages, such as just the tip of the spear, poke boot fucks, fucking knife hands, etc. I think they have their purpose. They do have some funny shit on them. I think the vast majority of them tend to go overboard and get mean for the sake of being mean, but it is what it is. I don't really like any of those pages on Facebook or anything, just because I've seen all the shit that they can post, so none of it's new and exciting to me, so I don't really subscribe to those in that sense. I think the best way to become guide is in boot camp. If you volunteer for it, generally they'll make you guide. But the way to be guide at the end is to literally be, the best, or the best, recruit in your platoon. You need to, be the first one up. You need to be faster than everyone else. You need to get dressed and everything quicker. You need to be able to take charge of the other recruits, stuff like that. So it's basically just being a super motivator. And that's really all there is to it, essentially. And they're going to, chances are, you'll get fired. Say you get it right away, you'll get fired, and if you're good, they'll hire you back again. And you'll go through, 3, 4, 5, 6 guides through your time in boot camp. They just do it to mess with people. How's your MOS chosen? You pick it when you're talking to the recruiter. A lot of times they can't necessarily give you a specific MOS. Like, say you want to be an artillery cannoneer like I was. They won't necessarily give you 0811, but they'll give you the artillery option, which means you can be one of the jobs in artillery, one of the 08 jobs. But if you're really focused on trying to get a certain job, then press the issue with the recruiter and make it well known to them that that's what you want to do. Who is this Roger we keep hearing about on comm? Good question, Carl. Good question. If there's anything you could have done while still an active duty Marine, what would it have been? That's a good question. I would have liked to have gone to Afghanistan. I really, really, really wanted to, and I really tried to go, but it just wasn't in the books. Otherwise, I was pretty content, in how my time went and what I got to do. What are my thoughts of JROTC? I think it's good. They help you, learn some of the basic stuff you'll need to know, and they kind of get you in that mindset of the military and stuff like that. I think a lot of the kids take it fucking too seriously, and I think they think they're God's gift to the earth, some of them, and makes you want to fucking throat punch those kids, but otherwise, that's going to happen regardless. That's going to happen. But yeah, it's good. I was in the Young Marines, which isn't necessarily a JROTC. It's not really their focus necessarily, but there's a lot of similarities there. So it's kind of cool because same sort of thing, and I learned a lot. I really did. What are my opinion of other branches? I think they're all valuable in their own way. I harass the Air Force a lot because it's funny and I can. But my brother's in the Air Force, and they do a lot of work. They fly a shit ton of missions. They provide a lot of services to the other branches that are on the ground. And so, every branch certainly does its has a specific goal, and they all do it very well. Otherwise we wouldn't have that branch. If they weren't doing their job properly, then they'd fucking get rid of it. Did I ever do any joint ops with other countries or just U.S. branches? Not necessarily any joint ops, but we would talk and interact with the guys from different countries. Talk to the Brits a lot, some of their SAS and stuff like that. And they're cool dudes. The British military guys are fucking legit. Those guys are, you go anywhere with them. They know how to get shit done. But like in Kuwait and stuff, you see, and like in the big bases when we'd stop into Al Asad, there was people from all over. I mean, just a variety of different countries there. And it's kind of cool, getting to talk to them, to the ones that spoke English. That was always kind of cool. Do they really give you like 20 seconds to shower in boot camp? Yes. You will literally, because the way they work, the way the showers are, at least in San Diego, I can't speak for the Paris Island ones, although I imagine they're similar, is it's essentially, they call it like a rain room, where it's basically 4 or 5 metal poles sticking out of the ground in this big shower area, and then those have shower heads off of them. And what our drill instructors did is they'd have 1 or 2 recruits go ahead and turn all the water on, and then you literally strip down naked, and they fucking run you through, and you just keep going at, not a run, because you slip, fall, and smash your head and shit, but at a good pace, and you're just walking through all this water, and some of it's hot, some of it's cold, and so you're just getting a little bit of everything. And you walk through, and you wash where you can, and if you don't completely wash, then oh well, it sucks. But yeah, generally it's 20, 30 seconds. Sometimes you get more, but when you're doing that, it's you're in there for no time at all. Where am I? What are my thoughts on Pogues versus Grunts? Kind of like the other branches question. I think everyone has their role. Obviously, I think some MOSs work harder than others, physically. And those are always the ones that I'd want to be with, because I prefer combat MOSs. If I could go back and redo it, I would probably do infantry, just to get a feel for that. But I was always out in the field. We were always deploying, and there was just no downtime for us, which is excellent. That's what it's all about. You want the time to go by, and you want to get out there and do shit. You sign up to go kick ass and take names, and so that's what you want to do. Tore my ACL a few years ago playing sports, and I had 2 screws in my knee. I've gone back to just about normal, but when I play high-intensity sports, you have to wear a brace. The brace itself wouldn't necessarily be an issue, especially if you can tough through it. If the screws are still in there, they may deny you. I'm not really sure what their stance is on screws right now, but chances are they'll say no. If there's any way for those screws to be taken out, that may be something for you to pursue, to discuss with your doctor. But I would just get a hold of a recruiter and see where they're at on that, because it kind of varies. Sometimes they're okay with it if you can run and do stuff like that. Other times they're not. So I would definitely go hit up the recruiter and explain the situation and let them know what's going on. How was my experience in Arty? Arty is a big love-hate relationship. I mean, you love it because you're literally getting paid to blow shit up with the biggest guns that the Marine Corps has. But at the same time, you hate it because it can get a little monotonous. As weird as that is, you're like, you just blow shit up. But it can get boring. I mean, you get used to it. You're used to the howitzers going off. You get used to the fire missions and the picking up and the moving the guns and rushing to the next spot and putting them down and all that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of boredom when it comes to artillery. And I guess that's any combat job, because as often as it may be, as often as it may be, I don't know what I'm trying to say or what the word is. They make it seem like you're constantly in the shit. You're constantly in combat. You're constantly doing this and that, and that's very rarely the case. Even for infantry, the vast majority of the time, the infantry. I'd venture to say 90% of the time with infantry, you're sitting there doing fucking nothing, doing absolutely nothing. And then there's that 10% of the time where shit gets real and you're kicking ass and taking names. So I mean, there's a lot of boredom. So it is a love-hate relationship. That's for sure. Why do Marines wear American flag patches on their uniforms? I don't really know if there's a specific reason necessarily, like the Army does. Everyone knows who fucking Marines are anyway. And like the enemy in literally almost every war fucking sends shit. World War One has tried to avoid the Marine Corps when possible. The Koreans, or not the Koreans, but the Chinese in the Korean War, the commanders were literally telling their soldiers and the lower level commanders to avoid Marine Corps units, to find Army units instead, because the Marines were just fucking their shit up. And so Marines are just hardcore. Outside that, I don't really know if there's a specific reason. I'd have to, if you know, or if whatever, just let me know, because I really don't. Did I earn a car? No, I did not. What are you allowed? Well, I skipped one. Wait. I'm confused. I did not earn my car, though. The ROEs are annoying. I've talked about that before in one of my videos. What are you allowed to have in a barracks room? Like TV, speakers, things of that nature, and how many people in a room? To a room. Yes, you were allowed to have a TV, speakers. I had my fucking desktop computer in my wall locker. Barely fit, too, because I have a pretty large tower, and so it fucking barely fit. But, yeah, you can have that shit. That's not a problem. When it comes, like, if you have, an Xbox or a PlayStation, stuff like that, they generally want you to lock that shit up, and so it's not sitting out on top of one of your desks or something, because people will steal that shit, because people are dickheads. So they advise you to lock it up. You don't necessarily have to, unless your NCOs force you to, but the general rule is to lock your shit up that's expensive like that, because people are asswipes. Generally, it's 2 people to a room. If the barracks get really crammed, then they will cram 3, 4, 5 guys in there until they can figure something out. And people will just literally sleep on the floor. That may not be the case for you guys, if you joined in this couple years, because there's really no major wars going on. But when I was in, the Marine Corps had like fucking 70, was it 70? Like 60 or 70,000 more guys than the Marine Corps was prepared to handle. And so we were cramming dudes in fucking all over the place. And so, yeah, but generally it's 2. If you're an NCO, if you're a corporal or a sergeant, generally a sergeant, you are allowed to have, at least we were allowed to have our own rooms if you wanted. So just so you know. What do I think of the Recon Ron pull-up program and the Armstrong pull-up program? I honestly don't know much about them. I mean, I think with any of those programs, as long as you're careful and you follow them certainly, but just be careful so you don't hurt yourself, that they'll help you improve. Anything that you're doing that you're not doing now, if you're literally not doing pull-ups on a daily basis and you go to do that kind of stuff, that's excellent, because you're improving, and that's what you need to do. I'll look more into those, though, but I'm sure they're great. I'm sure they are. And, I made a video on how to, in my opinion, how to increase pull-ups, and it worked for me, and I know it's worked for a few of you guys. So, but yeah, anything you can do to improve, fucking go for it. A normal day schedule at boot camp, I mean, it's kind of tough because the days can be pretty varied, but generally you're going to get up at 5:30. You're going to go, depending on the day, you'll probably go work out, or you will go straight to breakfast, and then you'll after breakfast you'll either go do some sort of drill training, or you'll go to classes, learn about Marine Corps history, learn about whatever they want to teach you that day, and then you go to lunch, and then more classes or training or drill, whatever, and then dinner, and then it's the nightly routine, which you'll get into. When you go up, to do your rifle training and all that stuff, things are a little more varied there, but generally that's what it is. And the days go by pretty quick too. I mean, it may not seem like it at the time, but afterwards you'll be like, fuck, man, some of those days, they were just fucking there and gone. There and gone. What did I have in my rifle? I had an ACOG. I had our Surefire, which is a flashlight. I had PEC. what was it? I don't remember which pack it was, but basically you can put like an infrared laser. It has the ability to put out infrared lasers so you can see with your MVGs, so you can aim at night when you're on patrol. Because it can be very tough to see, even with the ACOG, where you're aiming exactly at night. And so the laser, if properly adjusted, will allow you to shoot accurately at night, which is awesome. And I also had, they called it a broomstick, which is a little like handle in front, so you can hold it almost like a Tommy gun, you know. But ours also had a little bipod. There's a button on it, you can push it, and the bipod shot out beneath it, so that you can prop your rifle up and use it like that. Experience working with Special Forces units. I didn't do a ton of work with them. We did some stuff with the SEALs. The SEALs are pretty cool dudes. But outside that, you know, they tend, unless it's a big operation, the Special Forces guys tend to do a lot of work on their own. They just, that's just how they operate. You know, they work well in their small teams. But obviously, you know, like Chris Kyle and stuff, he did a lot of work with Marines when they were hitting Fallujah and Ramadi, stuff like that. But you know, outside of big offensives like that, you'll generally work. You won't necessarily do stuff with them. If I do it all over again, would I have changed anything? Outside possibly doing infantry, no. I was very happy with my time. What stuff do you or can you buy while at recruit training? There's not a really ton that they want you to actually buy. You'll purchase some stuff for your uniforms. You know, you'll purchase your one ribbon. Unless you're a prior military, then they'll have you purchase your other ribbons as well. But outside that, I mean, just some basic stuff. You know, some hygiene gear. So, you know, deodorant and razors and stuff like that. But generally in recruit training, you're not going to purchase a whole ton. Technically, you're paying for it, but you're not going to get a chance to go down to the PX and grab stuff. One of my thoughts on the M4/M16. I think they're solid rifles. I prefer the M4. I like the smaller, the more compactness of it. It makes, you know, room to room sort of stuff a little better than the full size M16s. But I mean, they're solid. They're solid weapons. They, you know, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the fact that they're 223, 5.56, but it is what it is. If you know how to use the weapons, I can hit something at 500 yards, no problem. So, and I can kill something at 500 yards, no problem. So, I mean, if you're comfortable with the weapon, you know what you're doing, you can be very efficient with it. And the last question. Oh, well, that was the last question. So, yeah, all right, guys. I appreciate your questions. I really do. I enjoy doing these videos, and don't really know exactly when I'll do the next one, but you know, I tend to be pretty decent at answering your guys' stuff when you PM me and stuff like that. So, as always, hit me up if you have anything that you want to discuss. I'm usually around in some form or other. So, all right, guys, I will see you in the next one. Semper Fi.